To get a full turnkey quote online, simply click on the Request a Quote button. Once the form loads, start out by defining your board type. Then enter your part number and revision. This helps keep track of all your parts, track revisions, and easily place repeat orders. Next, we need to select the services we require, so click on the Full Turnkey checkbox on the left. Finally, mention the quantities you would like Rush PCB to provide you a quote on, and click on the next step. Rush PCB provides instant quotes on multiple sets of quantities within minutes. To provide you an accurate quote, we need to know all of your board specifications. We have simplified this process by combining all complex attributes of a PCB board and presented it in an intuitive, easy-to-fill-out form. Start off by selecting the number of layers your board has. Next, pick the material type you would like. We offer a wide range of materials to choose from. Then enter your board size in inches. Then set the thickness of your board. If you would like to set up your board as an array, click the checkbox. Then define your array matrix, the spacing between your boards and the array border, and we will automatically generate the array size, which you can visually see by clicking the View Array button, and also download and save this information as a PDF file. If at any point during this time you require additional information on an attribute, simply click on the blue question mark next to the attribute to show in-depth information about that attribute. Now, go ahead and set the finish type from a wide variety of selections for your board, followed by the IPC class selection. If your board has more than 2 layers, you can set the copper thickness for your internal layers as well. Be sure to look at the compatibility chart of copper thickness to trace space by clicking the blue question mark so that your board meets the production standards. Finally, pick your mask and silkscreen colors and then click on the next step. You will now be presented with a form to define advanced optional attributes about your board. Start off by defining the number of cutouts slots on your board, followed by the number of countersink counterbore drill holes for your PCB. If your board contains gold fingers, make sure you set the number of gold fingers followed by the hard gold thickness you would like for those fingers. Also, if your board design has controlled stack-up, then select Yes for dielectric. And if you want controlled impedance, then set that too to Yes, and then define the tolerance you would like. Next, if any of the additional attributes apply to your board, then please define those attributes before clicking the Next Step button to proceed to the next step. Start off by uploading your BOM file or dragging and dropping your BOM file in the drop zone area. To ensure highest efficiency in finding your parts, please make sure your BOM is formatted properly, or you could download and use our reference BOM file as a means for defining your BOM parts. After your BOM file is loaded into our system, define the required manufacturing part number and quantity columns within your BOM by selecting the appropriate options from the drop-down. You can also define columns like reference designator, description, or DNI/DNP parts, which are not compulsory but help perform additional checks on your BOM parts. On clicking Next, our system will present your BOM information in an easy-to-understand layout, where you can customize it according to your preferences. Our system analyzes your data and automatically pre-selects invalid parts. You can go ahead and click the Delete Selected button to eliminate those parts. Make sure the right data has been imported into the system by comparing information like total and unique parts against your original BOM file. You can review all your BOM parts along with their associated quantities. You can also have a quick view of part description and reference designator if you have defined them. On the right, you have additional options where you can mark the parts you do not want us to install or the parts that you would like to consign. These parts will be left out of your total part cost. Once you have reviewed all the information, click on the next step to proceed further. If you have reference designators defined, our tool will automatically compare the defined reference designators against the quantities for each of the parts and will report any mismatches or duplicates that it encounters. You can go back and resolve those issues or ignore the warnings and proceed further. Our tool then fetches part information across several vendors, computes the data to find the best parts based on stock, price, and lead times, then generates a RFQ within a couple of minutes. You can also download the generated RFQ file in Excel format to view vendor information, data sheets, stock, and an array of other information processed from your BOM file. Start your assembly quote by defining your board size in inches. If your board is set up as an array, click the checkbox and define the array size. Then proceed to enter your board thickness. These options might not be visible to you if you have already filled them out if you had selected PCB manufacturing as one of your requested services. To give you an accurate quote, Rush PCB requires information of the assembly details like types of components, how many of them, and where you would like them to be placed, so that we can provide you the most accurate quote in a matter of seconds. First, select the assembly sides. If the parts need to be placed top side, bottom side, or both. Next, define the total line items. In other words, the total unique parts within your BOM. And finally, the total components, which is a total of all the part quantities that are present in one kit. We also need to break down the types of your components to calculate an instant quote. So start by providing the total number of PTH components your board has. If your board has QFNs or BGAs, please set their quantities per board accordingly. Next, define the standard SMDs. These are usually two-terminal devices like resistors, capacitors, diodes. Three-terminal devices like SOT, small outline transistors. We have a handy little information panel on the right that tells you the number of parts defined against the expected number of component totals, so you can keep a quick track of your numbers. Now, go ahead and define the number of fine pitch ICs, which are SMDs with a pin-to-pin pitch of 25 mils or less, followed by all the large devices. This includes any heat sinks you might have on your board, and finally, if you have any press-fit connectors or modules on your board. The bottom section you can specify if you require ITAR or Class 3 services. Define if your board contains small components, including footprints of 01005, 0201, or 0402. You can also mention if you would require conformal coating or depanels the board after assembly, then click the Next Step button to proceed to the next step.